Well, back in 1994, Core Digital Pictures was formed with 5 partners, led by Canada's own William Shatner. One of the first contracts was to provide the digital effects for Shatner's syndicated TV series, Tech War. Now, today, Core works on Hollywood blockbusters, and while Canadian actors and directors schmooze with the Hollywood stars at the Toronto International Film Fest, this industry star basks in dimly lit rooms in the warmth of a warm computer screen. And while it's out of the spotlight, it's helping films win big at the box office. Here to tell us more about Core Digital Pictures is Interim President Ron Estey. Ron, great to have you here.
Good morning.
Hollywood turning more to special effects these days, or my imagination?
There's virtually no feature film that's done today that doesn't have some kind of digital effect. Whether it be large character work, such as the Hulk that's coming up, or specialized technical processes like green screen removal. We do a lot of work in set extensions, that building sets digitally that aren't produced physically on set. Things like crowd replication. Put 50 people in a stadium, we'll make it 50,000. And that's a lot of that process happens behind the scenes.
I was wondering about that. So, in dollars and cents, worldwide, how big do you think this industry is?
I've heard ranges from 15 billion to 30 billion worldwide. Now that's a pretty big range, yeah. And so it's hard to really get a fix on it, because it includes not only animated feature films, which are large at the box office, animated television, but also includes games, television commercials, those kinds of things. So it's hard to get a number on. In Ontario, there are about 75 firms that produce digital effects and animation. We really don't know, because they're closely held firms for the most part, almost invariably, that the actual dollar volume that goes through is not really well known or really easily discernible. However, there is a new study coming up by the Computer Animation Association in the next 6 months that will probably hopefully uncover some of that stuff.
Do we have strengths in Canada, not just your company, but do we have strengths in particular? I'm thinking, George Lucas was the first one to come out with, space animation and defining that. Are we strong in one area?
We're excellent generalists. We can fundamentally do anything that's thrown at us. Any director comes up with any kind of vision for an idea. We can certainly, within the industry in Toronto, in Ontario, and in Canada, really produce almost anything that's required. There really are no impediments.
How many people do you employ currently?
We have about 150 people on staff now, but that escalates and de-escalates as projects required. We've been as high as 400. Our base staff is about 150.
We've got some of your work here that I wanted people to see, in particular Resident Evil Apocalypse, and you don't do some of the nicest things in terms of, we've got a clip that's coming, Toronto City Hall that's coming. What was the biggest challenge when you were making this one?
Certainly the complexity of the visual effects and the integration. The hardest thing to do in visual effects is to integrate the visual effect with the actual on-set lighting. So the integration is really a hard part. This is a character which is called the Licker, because it has a long, evil tongue, and the ability to generate performance that looks like it is real performance. It's a digital goose.
There's the whole integration of the. Oh wow!
And so the intent is to make the digital images impossible to discern from the live action footage.
How long does it typically make to put all that together?
It varies. For a fairly typical visual effects project, it will last about 6 months or so. For an animated television series, generally about a year to 18 months. For an animated feature film, 3 to 5 years.
So post-production takes that long on a movie?
Well, on a general post-production schedule is about 13 weeks. On a major feature film, we will start. A visual effects company will start early on into the actual shooting, and develop whatever the elements are that are required for the shoot.
Technology obviously has played a huge role in what you do. First off, I want to know how much computer power you use.
We have one of the larger computer facilities in the business. We have 1,100 processors in our supercomputer.
1,100 processors.
And it goes all the time. Fundamentally, the artists will do their work during the day and render overnight. And so the large-scale productions need a lot of computing power because the frames are so complex. The number of individual layers, you can think that the projects, the films are made up of layers, like the old cells. You see in Disney, they're flipping their cells. We do the same thing, although each cell is a file. And then in the end, you need to compress all those files together. So one file may be the background, maybe a character, maybe some dust, maybe some kind of other effect. So very often there are multiple layers, 40, 50 even in complex shots. And they then need to be compressed down into one single file that goes onto the film.
Working in Canada, do you get tax credits?
Yes. Tax credits are a fundamental part of the business in Canada. Actually, a fundamental part of the business in the world now, and the actual tax credit environment is between jurisdictions. Between Canada, there are a number of jurisdictions, Canada, BC, Alberta, Ontario, Manitoba just has a new one. Quebec has their own, Nova Scotia has their own, but certainly comes to like Bulgaria, Romania, all the major states, Massachusetts, Arkansas, all have tax credits.
How about the Canadian dollar? How do you cope with that when it rises? You're competing internationally, is what you just described.
Yeah, certainly it was a bit of a ride when the Canadian dollar was at 62 cents, and that certainly made the sell a lot easier. The thing about Ontario and the thing about Canadian projects is that they are high-quality projects, and certainly there's always been competition. There are competition for low-cost jurisdictions, but certainly the quality work will go where the quality work can be done. And certainly, of the studios that I know in Ontario, there are none that are suffering for lack of work right now because of the Canadian dollar.
Isn't that amazing? Talk to me about the Toronto International Film Festival. What's next for your company?
In terms of our company, there are a couple of things. We have, as the large portion of the industry always is in the quest for moving from a service company to owning their own proprietary projects. And
software in particular?
Well, not software, but own the property, the actual film property.
Oh, okay.
And so most of the larger companies in Ontario and in Toronto are headed that way, and we're doing the same thing. And we have coming up our own animated television series, which we hope to get into production. It's been pre-sold in 140 countries, and we hope to get it into production within the next 6 months or so. And so that's a pretty exciting part for us.
Is it ever? The gaming industry is huge. Would you look at games too?
Gaming industry is huge. There are barriers to entry. There are a lot of established players. Certainly to move into the games industry in an adjunct to properties that we own would make sense. To go in against Electronic Arts and other established companies, probably we'd look for other ways to move.
Oh, fascinating discussion, Ron. We wish you much success.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Ron Estey is the interim president of Core Digital Pictures.